Saurians and reptilians. Let's talk about that for a bit. So, first of all, this is for a lot of people, it's a fearful topic. Don't be afraid. There's nothing to fear. There's a level of awareness you want as you're going on a journey and working with different beings. You want a level of awareness to understand when you're in your heart space, when you're working with other beings in their heart space, to understand how to communicate and work with those beings, to understand when you are in communication with different beings, how to ask questions, to understand what they're doing to you, to always know that you're sovereign, that you're sovereign just by saying you're sovereign, but that there are also forms of protection you can take. And the reason I say this is because the R word, reptilians, has an extremely negative connotation to it. And there are many different types, and there are many different stories and species and different things out there that have a reason for having malicious stereotypes and things, because there are malicious versions of them, and very some of them are very just not good, I guess, is the easiest way to say it. Their intentions are not benevolent, and they walk gray lines and more of the black, malicious side of things. But that is not a reason to fear these beings. There are thousands of species in our own local universe, galaxy, in our own local galaxy. Go outside the galaxy, there's even more. But there are thousands and thousands of species in our own galaxy. A lot of them are reptile. I'm not going to use that R word often, but I like to say reptile in nature. That does not make them evil. It does not make them good or bad. That said, the stereotype you'll hear around the R word is these beings who are basically look like humans, but scaled skin and shift in and out, and are very malicious. And there is a segment. I'm going to be doing a lot of stop go because of talking to my guides back and forth, or maybe they'll take over and talk, but there's a segment of these beings that are malicious, that mean humans malintent, that are working within the human dynamic on Earth, for lack of a better word, not, control, basically. They are not good. When I met my Sasquatch friends, Kunlai and her group out in the Appalachians in the early stages, I guess, of my conscious interaction with these beings, because I thought I was interacting with a lot of them already, but didn't know I was interacting with them, or physically go out and be like, hey, let's set up a meeting and I'm gonna go meet you in the mountains. Conscious interaction. The conscious interaction with these beings, they went out there, and my Sasquatch friends were very clear: be very cautious of lizard people. What they said was, do not trust the lizard people. They used those words, lizard people. Now, it took me a long time to understand what that meant, because I started meeting galactics who were reptile-like in nature. And I was very put off by them, because I had known some of the stereotypes and some of the stories that I won't go into. If you want to search that stuff, you can. I choose not to talk about much of those interactions that people have published and that type of thing, because it's a fearful promotion of galactics, basically. It's a way to continue promoting fear of galactics. But I started meeting them, and one of them was Xanthar. Xanthar is a Saurian. I believe that's the word he gave me when I met him. He lives on a planet that is covered with a jungle. As I'm speaking right now, I can feel him just sitting by a campfire. They are tribal in nature. And when I say tribal in nature, I mean they have cloth skin stuff handmade from the animals that they've killed, and fires, and not a lot of high technology, I guess, where he lives. They have ways of accessing technology, but his people choose to live in the wilderness. They live at one with the land because of who they are. They have a carnivorous diet, so that doesn't mean they hunt. But I met him when he was on a hunting journey, I guess is the word they're using. He was on a hunting journey, and I met him when he was on that in the woods and started talking to him. He looks like a bluish green. He's humanoid, very strong, thick fingers, claws. Looks like, just a humanoid body, like not like a muscle bound guy, but like very well defined musculature, but not muscle bound, just very fit, I guess, very, very fit. And his head is that of a the best comparison I have that I've ever had is if you take one of the velociraptors from the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movies, and morphed it, softened it a little bit, put it on a body, and made it bluish green. That would be kind of his head. And he does have kind of scales in his skin. His skin's more smooth but scaly at times, and that sort of thing. Very dinosaur-esque in his physical likeness. Very powerful, strong energy, somewhat intimidating. And because of my experience with the storytelling of the R word, I almost didn't grant him the time of day. But I found out later he's a beautiful friend. I've experienced him for years, helping me, teaching protections, teaching other things, teaching others, connecting with others, and nothing to be afraid of. He is a benevolent species, but they are, or would be, feared by many humans. Not only would they be feared by humans just for their likeness, but also their way of life, because it is a tribal way of life, and they are carnivorous. They have a carnivorous body type as part of the thing, the planet, and the types of beings that they are, and where they're at on their ascension process. But so he came to me, and beautiful work with him, always fun. Happy energy, very serious, very, I don't know, hunter-esque energy. And I worked with him for, I don't know, met him probably in 2020, so 4 years now, almost 4 years now. We're going into 2024. And I didn't meet too many other beings. I had met a Naga. Now, a Naga is a snake being. They can have many different types of forms, but typically they have the snake tail. Some of them do have legs. The one that, actually, I'd have to look at my books. It'll be in my extraterrestrial book. The first meeting I had with a Naga was an inner Earth Naga. I believe they did have legs. and arms, and they had a snake hood, kind of like a cobra, and face. And then I met another guide later, Rami, and they are very black, very, and the words they're using are hideous looking, even though they're not. Their energy is very beautiful, protective, loving, cautious, very cautious energy, because they know the way they're perceived, and they are just a very, very deep black color. Cobra hood, have a snake tail body, no legs, but they do have arms. These beings are, excuse me, from Hydra constellation areas. They are in other places, just like all galactics. They're kind of all over the place. But a lot of them hail from Hydra. Some of them have hailed from Inner Earth, as I have described before. Some of them are other places. I've met Nagas through other clients, and they're kind of scattered because they've been around a long time. But they're all very, the ones I have met, to be very clear, have been very benevolent, because I have that field of benevolence. Now, when it comes to other types of those beings, I went on a hike one time in an area where I no longer hike this area. I used to go with my ex. For years, I would go to this one space in the Appalachians. It's beautiful. There are some good energies there, but every time I've been there, I've had a negative experience of some kind. Negative, meaning one point I was there with my ex. I woke up in the middle of the night with an army of the dead walking through a dimension very, very close to us. And that was one of my first encounters with galactics, and an Arcturian came down and told me, like, I was protected, don't worry about it. They're just moving through a dimension that I could see, and I could feel them. And I'm talking like straight out of Poltergeist, straight out of Poltergeist, Army of the Dead, walking through this space. I had seen very low vibrational, malicious beings of all kinds of natures there, but never equated it with the land, just equated it with people around the area. And then I started going back as somebody far more awake and hiking, like staying away from those areas where I experienced that stuff and going to neighboring areas, I guess to say. And I went on a hike one day, and it was a 6-mile hike after not hiking all winter, which is an exhausting hike if you haven't hiked all winter. So it was 6+ miles around this big, beautiful area of the Appalachians, creeks, all this stuff. I went down a path nobody was going down, didn't see a soul for, 2 hours until the end of the hike. And the end of the hike, I met up with the main trail again to go back to the car, and had another 40-minute walk back. And the main trail had people on it coming and going, and most of them were perfectly fine. But one person in particular came, and that one person, I looked at them, and I just knew, I was like, I have to get out of here. And I could see them and see there was just dark, malevolent energy around this person. And I was like, okay, what is this? And had to, you're hiking, step off a trail. I mean, you're walking through each other's fields, that type of thing. I go back to the car, and I can just feel in an instant like there's a reptilian energy watching me. And when I say that, I mean, imagine a human face, but scales all over, scales. And I go back to the car, and I'm just like, I can't shake it. It won't go away. I drive 2.5 hours home, and it just won't go away. It just won't leave me alone. Now, I don't remember if it was that night. I think it was that night. I do believe I posted the video to YouTube. I don't remember. There's a video about the book ban, and that's the video about part of this. and I'm not going to get into the whole story. If you want to hear the whole story, you'll have to find that video because it's an hour and a half long video, but all about this encounter. But I went home and I was spiritually attacked essentially by this being, and I could see them in my head. Now the thing is, they didn't know who I was. I got home. I was drained on the trail, which is why they could see me. I was just drained from hiking for 2+ hours when I saw them, and doing it right after winter through the mountains. And so I came home, and my shields went right up. All of my divine council, my divine team came. Sasquatches live not far from me. They sent me a tulpa, which is a thought form. It's a type of energy to help me out. Angels were here. All kinds of stuff came to help protect my field because they were sending beings from different vibrations, not physical beings, but other beings. They were sending them to penetrate my house and affect me in a negative way. And I could see them in the back of my head. I could see them laughing telepathically because these are highly telepathic beings. And at the end of that encounter, a long night, it was a very long night. At the end of the encounter, I remember them saying, "Oh my God, I didn't know who you were. And if I didn't know who you were, I would have left you alone." And they ended up getting into a lot of trouble. According to my galactics, they took care of it and put them in, like, they called it galactic jail of some kind. I don't know. It's not like our version of jail, but I don't understand the concept of it. But they were handled, is essentially the words that they used. But that same morning, another one came, and this was a feminine. The one that was hitting me was a masculine energy. This was a feminine energy, and they stood off in the distance. Energetically, I could feel them like very hesitant to talk to me. They wanted to talk to me, and my guys were like, "You should talk to them," and I'm like, "No." And they, at some point, I said, "Okay," and they were the ones who told me, like, that we're sorry what our brother did. Not brother like family, but brother like, humans. We're all brothers and sisters. We're sorry about what our brother did. He's been taken care of. I would like to talk to you more. And I was like, I just, not right now. Not going to happen. The thing about benevolent beings is they won't argue with you. They won't push you. They won't fight with you about anything. If you want to talk to your guides, if you want to feel it out, they'll work with you when they're operating a loving heart space. So she went, "Okay." She's like, "It's fine." She backed off and she faded into the distance telepathically. I could still feel her every once in a while connect. I'd be like, "No, not right now." She'd be like, "Okay." She'd disappear. She is who you can find on my Instagram. I have drawings of her. Her name's Nala. She showed up and started talking to me, and she was an example of a benevolent version of her race who is here as one of them, informed to shift the malicious work that their brothers and sisters have done, who have been here in the past and who are still trying to do that work. Now, I'm very cautious with these entities, I guess you might call them, with these beings, whatever word you want to use, these galactics. Because just like my Sasquatch friends said, don't trust the lizard people. And galactics, I've known, have always been very cautious with them. Their thing is, don't openly trust those who come to you unless we bring them to you, type of thing. There are different energies that if my spirit guides bring them to me, then it's like, it's safe. They're safe to work with, type of thing. She was brought to me, but I didn't want to deal with it after that encounter, so I was like, okay, I'm going to do something else. I think it took about 6 months before we spoke, and then I channeled a message for her. You can find it. It's in my book, The Journey of Spirit Art, which I have right behind me. Willow Shire's Friends and Family, The Journey of Spirit Art. You can find, actually, I can show you a picture of it. I always forget to pull these out, but that's her there. Septicon Reptilian is what she called herself. Let me see if there's anything. Yeah, no, it's just a lot of her talking about making sure we don't judge all of them based on the actions of the ones that are already here, because there are some that are trying to do good work. And she is an actual reptilian, not a different species, as there are many different species and things. She's an actual one, shapeshifter. It was, I lost the page, I don't know, a year later. I was laying in bed, I think, and I was awake, and I saw her image appear in front of me and in my mind, and felt her. And her energy, it's interesting because when her energy comes to me, I believe I always see her like, I haven't seen her in a long time, but when I was seeing her, she looked like the reptilian, typical reptilian human-like appearance, but just scaled all over. In like a suit type of thing, suit and tie, like very respectable, professional type dress for what humans would say. And she goes, "You're gonna meet me tomorrow, and you're gonna meet me, and I don't remember the whole thing." This is where I wish I had all my notes. I have so many notes on experiences that half of the time I don't remember all the details unless I read the exact things. But I know she was like, "You're going to meet me tomorrow. I'm working in your town," which I had known. She had told me before. "I'm working in your town, and you'll know me when you see me, but don't say anything," type of thing. And I went. I had something to take care of that was related, like administrative related to the village I live in. And I went, and I was like, "Holy cow!" On this journey of doing this task, I ran into this person, and they were them. I had drawn the picture of her, of what I had seen when she showed me months before. And when I drew it, I was like, the hair, the streaks in the hair, her fingers. I'll never forget too that this woman's fingers. I don't believe to date I've seen fingers so muscular on a woman that just didn't look like natural human muscle type of thing. So I ended up seeing her and meeting her, and even telepathically, I would think something like, I think I thought something about like, "Is that her?" And then she like brushed her hair in a way that made it look like her image type of thing. It was very interesting. Now, it wasn't brought up when I meet galactics who are in person. Sometimes I don't necessarily know if they are aware of them being a galactic, meaning are they a starseed soul incarnated as a human? But my feeling was she was actually a being that was here as a human instead of a starseed soul incarnated. So she was very helpful, very kind energy, benevolent, loving. This is my point with this kind of story. I have very few experiences with actual R's, as I say. It's almost 50-50. I have an experience with her. I have experience with that one negative one. And I don't know if I've experienced any more than those two. Knowingly experienced. and they aren't all malicious is the point, but also as you go on your journey, it is up to you to protect yourself, to work with your divine counsel, your team, to work with spiritual protections, and to learn how to feel heart space, to feel intentions, to feel energy, to do all this to protect yourself from those beings who do not mean you well. I still have a policy when it comes to the R's that I do not openly just work with them, type of thing, unless my guides bring them. And when my guides bring them to me, I'm very cautious. And I'll get to that in a second. But they have a reputation for a reason, but that is not a reason to fear them. That is, in there's this, remember, there's a stereotype of them, but there are so many more species that end up taking the flack because of that single stereotype against one group. So always have an open mind. Always understand that you're sovereign. Understand that you can say, I don't want to work with you right now. I don't want to talk to you right now. And they have to leave. They have to leave you be. And if they don't, then they're probably not of the highest good. If they give you any fight on it, they're probably not of the highest good. So when it comes to those beings, they are very lizard-like. I don't know much about them other than that they can shapeshift, that they can look like humans, that they can switch back and forth. That's about it. And the stories of them just, being in our systems, in our population. But not all of them are malicious or benevolent, So, but again, nothing to fear. I'm still here. I had an encounter. I had a very I don't know the right word to use for it. It was essentially a very brutal attack on me, on my ability to do light work, on my confidence, on my apartment, my physical place, even to the point where there were other physical dangers that presented because of this one being who saw that I was doing spiritual work and wanted to stop me. I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still doing my work, and I won't stop doing my work. And I attribute a lot of that to the light work I do, the divine team that I created, and the confidence in my sovereignty. That was a big thing. So if you're trying to build that confidence, remember there's that build your fortress, build your spiritual fortress course. It's a playlist on my YouTube. You can take that course for free, and that will give you different ways to help build your spiritual fortress to protect yourself against those that don't mean you the greatest good. And so let's stop with those for now. There are another group of beings that I've met that call themselves reptiloids. And it's very clear when I meet them, or they are very clear when I meet them. They are not reptilian, they are reptiloid. These beings have all been benevolent that I've met. Again, there could be malicious ones out there. As with all beings, all galactics. Humans, we group these galactics into good or bad, but humans won't sit there and say, well, what do we group humans as? Do we group humans as bad because of the atrocities that occurred in World War II? No, we don't group the entire collective of humanity as bad. We also don't group the entire collective as saints because of Mother Teresa. You say that there are some good people, that there are some bad people, and the thing that I always liked is 10% of people are good, 10% of people are bad, and the other 80% want somebody to follow at this stage of the journey. So you don't group all galactics in that space, and always keep that in mind, that just because I speak of a good galactic doesn't mean that there's not a polarity out there, which is why it's so important to build a grid that attracts benevolent beings. And so all the reptiloids I've met have been benevolent. They have this feature that they're human in form, in humanoid in form, but they don't have the scales. They have reptile features in the sense of like the shapes of their heads, in some cases, and the eyes and different things, but the ones I've met have been mostly like gray or grayish green. I may have met one that was black, like a dark gray, or a charcoal black maybe. I can't remember if that's right, but I'm feeling like saying that, so I must have at some point, probably through a client. But no scales, so their skin is smooth like ours. It's leathery is the word my guides are using. It'd be more like a cow's skin, I guess. More leathery. But they have all been extremely benevolent. Most of them that I can think of have been interested in color energy, working with colors for healing, for protection, that type of thing, and have been galactic in nature. I don't have a lot of information as to where they're from or species or anything like that, because this is before I was doing a lot more detailed work on that. But there are groups out there that call themselves reptiloids. Now, there are also the Saurians like Xanthar that are out there, and those are the dinosaur-like groups. And then there are the groups like the Draconians, which is also a word I don't like to use because of the stereotypes around them. And they can also be used as a stereotype for Saurians. Draconians do have in some cases, dinosaur-like features. These are the ones that are big, muscular. Typically, the image that's shown are big, muscular reptile creatures with wings. They're the planet destroyers, the galactic warriors. They're not benevolent in 99% of the storytelling. I have met one that I did not know was a Draconian at the time I met him. I met him on a ship, and you can read about that encounter in my book when I write about Saurians not realizing I knew exactly what he was and just didn't realize it. But he had a little gray being with him that looked kind of Zeta-like, and that being, I can tell you, was he's super nice, super friendly. I was out looking at the ships, and this little being sitting there talking to me, and just super happy that I'm paying attention to him and willing to talk, and he's telling me about different things. And then this big, enormous, dinosaur-like creature walks by, but he is heavy. And when I say he's heavy, I mean he's not fit, he's not muscular, he's fat. He looks like, he's walking along, but he's got a big gut, and he looks like if he were, I can't think of the words. It'd be like he'd be the leader of a society who just fed him all day long, type of thing. And I could feel. So the little being that people, and I believe is one of the beings that people often attribute to grays. He very kind, like I said, loving. This other creature, complete opposite vibration. I looked at him, he looked at me, he looked at, he had a dinosaur face on him, carnivorous dinosaur face type of thing, and very just malicious feeling to him. He looked at me, and I was like, I'm not walking over there. He looked at the little creature, and he was like, get over here. You're not allowed to talk to him. And we're leaving. And he said, we're leaving or something. And the little being, I remember just being like, oh, and walked up and kind of like, yes, master, and walked away with them. And that, there are people who talk about grays. My feeling is he was probably some type of gray, the little being. But he was very, very, I don't want to say benevolent, but in a non-malicious space, whereas the being he called master was not. And I was on a ship and confused, and I asked my concierge, caretaker, whatever you would call Carrie. Carrie she's an Arcturian Zeta human. She's got a lot of hybridity, if that's a word, hybridness, I don't know. She's got a lot of different genetics, but Arcturian human Zeta combinations. She talked to me and said, like, the ship that I was on was a kind of a neutral zone. Anybody can be there. If you don't harm us, we won't harm you. No, neutrality. They're Switzerland, basically. And so I was shocked because I was like, oh, okay, I've met a Saurian that I do not want to know. Now, at the time, I don't remember if I knew the word draconian. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I knew he was malicious, and I know that when I learned more about them later, I was like, that's what he was. But I had an encounter with him that was not, there was no malicious action taken or anything. There was no reason for me to be afraid in the moment because I knew I was protected and safe. And that's kind of the point, is sometimes you meet these beings and you just know you're protected and safe in those moments, but you also know if you met them standing beside you in a field in the middle of nowhere that you would be like, okay, I'm going to go the other way, and you go on your way, and we'll leave each other alone because I'm not dealing with you. Now, I have had draconians come to me telepathically, and like I said earlier, I have this thing where if my guides bring them, they are safe to work with. And one of my guides works with me on galactic fear, the reduction of galactic fear. And that is Rami, my Naga guide, works with that and brings different beings to me and helps me with people, clients and things who are dealing with fear. And brought a draconian one time, and I was like, absolutely not. Because the other thing is, when you feel them and you feel their density is low. I have not felt one yet. Even Xanthar, at times as a Saurian, his vibration feels low. They're galactic. They're not like angels, but some of them have a vibration that is like even very low. Like they're almost, it just puts you on edge right away, because beings with those lower vibrations like that are also a lot of times unpredictable. I guess might be the word. But this draconian came, and I don't remember the name of them. And I put them off, and I was like, don't bring them in. Ram kept bringing them every once in a while and be like, we need you to work with them. And it was for a project I was doing. And finally, I sat down to do some art, and I was doing this project and channeled this, what do they call it? The dissolution of draconian energetic programs or something like that. And it was a spiritual piece of art on a bookmark. And it was created to dissolve, to destroy, to break patterns and energies in people that were not of the highest good, that were from beings like them. And that's what a lot of these beings do. They come to us, and they come to us to help us break what their brothers and sisters of a malicious polarity have done. So that energy was very dense, but benevolent, but I was also extremely cautious around working around them. And I was working with this one telepathically. This wasn't on a ship or anything. But at the same time, my guides, when I expressed, no, I don't want to do this right now, they pulled them away and said, okay, but we need you to do this. Can you like just work on the fear, like reduce the fear? There's nothing to fear here. We're bringing them to you. And I haven't spoken with them since. Those energies for me are just, it's not even really a fear thing. It's very, like I said, it's very dense energy. And to explain it, they're putting in my mind, they're like, there's a reason a lot of galactics are waiting for the vibration of the earth to rise, because they don't like being in the density of humans. So they prefer to be at higher vibrations, which means other dimensional spaces. And it's kind of the same in working with some of these beings, that just because they are dense in their vibration does not make them benevolent or malevolent. It does not mean they're good or bad. It just means they're at a different vibrational level of consciousness. And that's the key. A lot of them come to help us, and a lot of them aren't going away. But when people see them, their first thought is going to be, what's his name? That's Alex Jones or whatever, who just spouts off about how reptilians are evil. You have all these famous people out there who control a lot of say as far as the knowledge that is consumed and known, and it's all they're evil, they're bad, etc., etc. Well, then you have this thing that people don't understand. There are multiple types of them on Earth. There are lizard people. There are some that are shapeshifters. Some of them are not shapeshifters. The Saurians are not shapeshifters. They're, if you're looking at them, you're looking at a 7-foot, 8-foot dinosaur man. And there's a lot of information out there that is not just not accurate. It's politicized, twisted, fear-based, fear-mongering type of information. And that's why, as we move forward, working with galactics, it's important to understand how to feel intention, malevolence, benevolence, how to communicate with them, and that we don't judge them based on how they look. Because there's, like I said, there's different types. There's Saurians, there's reptilians, there's some call themselves reptiloids because they aren't one or the other. Then you have the different species names. You have the draconians, you have actual reptilians, you have like Nala, who says she's a reptilian Septicon or something, I forget. And they come from different worlds and places, and some of them are working on shifting that image that Earth has of them. That doesn't mean to instantly trust something that you see that is of that nature, and that's the key. Make sure you know who you're working with. Now, I don't know a lot of specifics, again, around some of these beings. The knowledge I have is more in the moment. What do they want to help with? What's their motive, their goal? Usually in talking to a client, with Nala, she wanted to help me with my fear and help me understand. She lives in my county, is what I will say. I'm not going to say exactly where or who, but she lives in my county area. And then you have those that come to you and just want to be friends. Like Xanthar is a friend. I can feel the telepathy between us. And I have a Saurian who essentially I can talk to about stuff if I want to talk to. But we don't have small talk. The work I do with galactics, a lot of people are like, oh, what is it like to, what is their planet like? What do they do on a day-to-day basis? I get those questions when I do Q&As for a reason, because we don't interact like that. We don't do small talk or those types of things, and we are very in the moment and very just working together and spreading our light and learning tidbits through that, like you naturally would with a coworker about their life, but not at like a direct interview sequence. So, but there are people out there doing great work when it comes to some of these beings. And more, I feel like those who specialize in these types of beings over time will be seen more as time goes on. And my job is just more of introducing you to everything that's out there, not specifically one or the other. So just know that Saurians are real, reptiloids are real, reptilians are real. If you've ever seen a shapeshifter, they're real. And they're not just reptilians, there are others out there too. Fae, a lot of Fae can shapeshift. And I've seen that personally myself. And there are others. I mean, I didn't cover galactic dragons who have humanoid forms and other types of beings that are out there. But we can label them all we want. When it comes down to it, they look like reptiles. They look like dinosaurs. They look like alligators or iguanas or geckos or all this stuff. There's nothing to fear. If you do the work, if you build your sovereignty, if you know you're protected and are conscious in the process, there's nothing to fear. That's the key, is you have to know you're sovereign. You have to just understand that fear itself is the enemy. Fear itself is what brings you into those encounters that are more aligned to fear. So if you have any questions about them, let me know. I can always ask them direct questions. Nothing's coming through. I just wanted to share a few of the beings that I have experienced that are Saurians and reptilians. And I know it's a common question people ask me, specifically the R word they use. And I think that's it. But thank you for watching. I'm grateful for each and every one of you, and I love you all.